In the evolution of cities, we've come a long ways very fast.
We're 20, 30 minutes away from anywhere you want to be in LA County.
I've worked with a number of prominent cities, and I can assure you that we have the best mayor and city council and executive team in the country.
The great Terrell Davis. Great to see you. You know, I think you're the 5th player that we've had in Hall of Famer, but the first guy with not just 1, but 2 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah.
And so you know what this is all about.
Yeah.
You know what this takes. And I think there's a misnomer about those Broncos teams. A lot of people think back to John Elway, one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the NFL, and those being passing teams. Really, they were run-based teams, run-based and defense, and you were represented that running game, and so that was great. I first want to ask you about this matchup, because we were just talking about the Cincinnati Rams matchup and thoughts about who has the advantage where. How do you look at this game?
You know, first of all, I love you. The Hall of Famer is awesome, brother.
Thanks, buddy.
So people don't know that you and I go way back to like Thursday Night Football and doing that show. That was cool, the 5th quarter. So Sam and I became really good friends there. But I see this game as much as I look at the matchups and try to figure out where the teams have the advantage, where they don't, and what would be ultimately the decision or the key factor in this game. And I just keep coming back to the Rams defensive front. And it kind of reminds me of like the Broncos in Super Bowl 50, right, where they had Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware, they had Malik Jackson. They had this front that was it was dominating. And they played the Carolina Panthers, and people thought that the Panthers were the better team. And I was like, I don't know, man. That front from the Broncos is really good. It's active. And so that's an example of the team that dominated that game. They won a Super Bowl. We can go back to last year's game against the Bucs and the Chiefs. And the Bucs defensive front was fearless. I mean, they just dominated the game. And the Chiefs, people thought, okay, there'll be a 30-point game, 45-point game. The Chiefs scored, 9 points in that game? And so you have a unit that can dominate and change the entire trajectory of the game in the Rams. And so I've seen that. Again, Brady when he played the Giants. So I've seen that in numerous Super Bowls. So I keep coming back to that as my kind of key to the game. Do I think the Bengals have a chance to win? Yeah. I mean, if they came in and played well, I think a guy like Joe Mixon, who could be a problem for the Rams because he can catch the ball. He's a strong power runner, and it would allow Burrow to have a left and a right kind of left and a right punch. So if they can go in that game, the Bengals, and remain two-dimensional, it could cause some problems from the Rams, where they have to defend the run first. Which, if you're defending the run first, you can't just pin your ears back and go after the quarterback. And teams who have beaten the Rams have figured that out. The Niners, for example. The Niners, they don't drop back a lot. So the Rams are always constantly catching and trying to defend the run. And then you go into pass mode. Well, it's too late by that time. They did obviously beat the Niners in the championship game, but the previous 6 times they've struggled with that kind of offense. So there's a lot of different matchups that I'm looking forward to seeing. My gut tells me, or I guess it's more of my wants, I'm rooting for the Rams.
Huh. Okay.
I'm just rooting for the Rams. Listen, my kids are born in LA. It was fun to see the Dodgers win the World Series. It was cool to see, the Lakers win. It wasn't a Mickey Mouse trophy. It was a real deal. They won that trophy. So to see LA teams having, success, was really cool. And then the Rams, man, listen, this team has been, you come here to Los Angeles, you're playing in, the beat-up stadium, and now you have this gorgeous stadium right here in Los Angeles. And so to me, I'd love to see Los Angeles bring that Super Bowl back here, and it would be fun. And we only had, one instance in the history of the game where a team played the Super Bowl in its hometown, and that was the Bucs last year.
Yeah.
It worked out pretty well for them.
It did. And your college career began in Los Angeles adjacent at Long Beach State. Before Georgia.
Yeah. I'm a California kid, by the way. San Diego.
Yeah. Any philosophies on how the Rams built this team, an all-star team, we saw the 94 Niners do that to great effect, but we've seen many more teams sort of fall apart when you build all-stars, but they obviously made the dramatic trade for Matthew Stafford. They got Vaughn, they got OBJ. A lot of times it's hard to hold that chemistry together and win that way. Any thoughts on that?
It's tough. It's tough, but I believe that it's the new way of football now. It's starting to become the instant, let's plug and play, grab guys that we know can fill a void, get guys who are willing to sort of defer to other stars on a team. OBJ, for example, I didn't think that this would have worked for him. I didn't. He was in New York. Obviously, they shipped him off to Cleveland. Cleveland got rid of him. He comes here, and he's used to being the number one receiver. He's used to being the guy. Well, you got Cooper Kupp here. So he fits in. Robert Woods gets hurt. And he says, you know what? I don't need to be the number one guy. I can be the number two guy. I can be effective. I'm going to support the role I'm in. I'm going to really play it well. You haven't heard a word from him all year long. And all he has done is produced. And so the Rams got that. You traded for Von Miller, which I live in Denver now, and that was tough to see Von get traded because to us, we thought trading Von meant that we were tanking the season. But it really wasn't. It was more based off Von's contract was coming up. They can get value for Von right now. And it almost freed up the younger guys in the locker room. Because Von was, as a leader, sometimes the leader, you're in his shadow and you can't blossom. It's almost like that, the analogy would be the tree in the shade. A tree in the shade can't grow. So once you cut down the big tree and you remove that, now it gets sunlight. So the younger guys are starting to blossom. They got value for Von, and now the Broncos have a different way of trying to win. But Von has come in here and has played extremely well in the playoffs. So I like what the Rams are doing. I think teams, Sam, it's hard to pick guys in the draft now and count on them being what you drafted. It is difficult now. You can't count on a guy you drafted in the first round to be a first rounder. We've seen so many guys who just don't pan out anymore.
Yeah.
So I'd much rather go with a proven product, somebody I've seen do it on this level, versus gambling with a teenager and saying, once I give this guy a contract for millions of dollars, I'm going to get the same player on this level.
Yeah.
That's just my philosophy. I'm different. I prefer the proven commodity over some potential player coming out of the draft.
Yeah, just the philosophy of Les Snead with the Rams. Look at what George Payton is doing with the Broncos. And you're in Denver now, and obviously they're building for the future. They like their receivers. They need a quarterback, an answer at quarterback.
We get Aaron Rodgers, by the way.
Tell me about Aaron Rodgers. What do you think the chances are that Aaron Rodgers winds up in Denver?
I think they're really good. So everything I've heard for the last year has all been Aaron Rodgers is coming to Denver. I've heard from insiders and guys that I know who has covered the Broncos for many years, guys who covered the NFL, guys who have been involved in the actual details of that trade, who say that it is basically going to happen. Like Aaron is coming to Denver.
Was Nathaniel Hackett a precursor to that?
I don't think Nathaniel was necessary. Like this, he was coming regardless.
Wow.
I don't think this hurt. Obviously, this helps that this kind of doesn't hurt that Nathaniel Hackett is in Denver now.
Yeah.
So Aaron was coming regardless of Nathaniel, but I think this to me when I saw that move, I said, okay, now it's a done deal.
That franchise rolled out the orange and blueprint, if you will, by having Peyton come play the end of his career, win a Super Bowl, got to 2 Super Bowls that way. And so you can envision them doing the same thing with last night's MVP?
Yeah, I do. I see it. I see it happening.
Wow.
Because they have, you just said it, they've already seen it, they've done it, they've went down that road before, they got Peyton Manning. But I think the difference, here's the only caveat. When they got Peyton, he was a free agent. So they didn't give up anything for him.
Yeah. And everybody had written him off.
Yeah, written
him
off.
Or a lot of people
He was injured. He all likelihood he wasn't going to play football anymore. Now it depends on what they give up for Aaron Rodgers, whether it's just draft picks, or whether it's are you throwing players in the mix?
And
So
as I
depends.
mentioned earlier, those Peyton teams were not based on the quarterback play necessarily. Those were sort of like the end of John's career
Right.
with the Broncos. That it was really relying on other things. Peyton was the face of the team, if you will.
Well, in 2013, it was all
Yes.
Peyton. It was all Peyton.
Right.
But when they won the Super Bowl, it was Peyton had dropped off dramatically. He didn't have the arm strength anymore, and so you can see him starting to slide. And then the team had a really good defense. They had a running game, and they had enough of a passing game because it's Peyton Manning. You still have to remain honest on defense. You can't go to sleep and think, all right, it's Peyton Manning. His arm is beat up, so we're going to bring safeties in the box and then play man. No. You still were playing coverage, so it allowed the running game to work. But yeah, different kind of approach. Aaron is it's about that. We witnessed last year Tom Brady leaving the Patriots, going to Tampa Bay, a plug and play system where you take a quarterback, which it was unheard of before that. Now you got Matthew Stafford. You just got him on the team. You're in the Super Bowl. So Sam, you think that this is not a model for other teams? You don't think they're sitting back saying, why would we try to build a franchise through the draft, which could take 4 to 5 years, when we can go find that quarterback, bring him in next year, and instantly be a competitor or be in contention for a Super Bowl? That's what I'm doing.
So you think we're transitioning from the time when the Seattle Seahawks built a Super Bowl team with a quarterback on a rookie contract?
Yeah.
Everybody tried to do that, to now going to the Rams system potentially, where and other teams have done it.
Yeah.
But the Bucks, Rams, where you take an established guy. You brought up Tom Brady.
Yeah.
After this retirement rumba, is he done?
He's done.
He's done.
Tom is not the guy in my opinion. That says he's going to retire and then somehow has a change of heart. He's thought this through. This is not a decision that he wakes up and says, all right, I feel like retiring, so I'm going to retire. He started, this was already kind of a process that to me, this was almost the process or a decision he made maybe a year ago, that this was it for him. What people don't understand is, you look at Tom, he looks healthy, looks great, but the mental toll it takes to prepare for a season is extraordinary. At that age, man, you don't have, it is demanding. Not only, mentally, but physically. Even though he didn't have any signs of weakness in his arm strength. The dude led the league in passing touchdowns and passing yards. To him, he feels it, and he's like, I can't go back to the bottom of this mountain, try to prepare again, go to training camp, and try to climb this mountain again. I don't have the gas to do it anymore. I don't have the ability to rebound. I don't have the energy, and it's tough. I remember I was in my 5th year in the NFL, and I'd already contemplated retirement in my 5th year when I was playing. I remember some plays I'm in the game, and I'm like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I am just beat up, and I just this game. This is not an old man's game. This is a young.
Particularly your position.
Yeah. And people would look at you and they say, you look great. Look like you can play tomorrow. No, I can't play tomorrow. No, you are disrespecting the what it takes to play on that level.
Yeah.
So I think Tom is done. I will be shocked if he came out of retirement, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What more can the league do to address the lack of diversity at head coaches?
Yeah. I think we're all trying to figure that out, man. It's like it's the obvious, it's the elephant in the room, and you know what's happening. But it's hard to. It's difficult to say how do you fix it. I've heard people say, yeah, the NFL has a problem. Yeah, okay, we recognize that, but how do you fix it? The Rooney Rule was the first attempt at trying to create an environment where you had to look at other candidates, minority candidates, and I love the spirit behind the rule. I love the fact that the NFL recognized that they need to get more minorities in as coaches. But how do you enforce it? How do you tell a billionaire owner that he has to hire a person that he may not want to hire? You answer that question.
Yeah, I think the only ideas that I would have would be lowering all the impediments in terms of coaches interviewing, where a team can give a coach permission to interview with another team. And you allow coaches to interview with other teams and not have the team say, come to that team and say, can we interview? Because that formal process, guys might be intimidated to do that. But I think beyond that, it's a real quandary. How do you, the spirit of the law is great, or having people go to the letter of the law, but not the spirit, not what you're trying to achieve.
It just seems crazy. I had an idea. I don't know if will it stick or not, but you would have to have, let's say you have this coaches portal, and you have this thing where coaches have to apply, they have to enter this portal, they have to be qualified coaches. And you make sure that that pool of coaches has at least 50% minorities in it. And the owners can only hire from this pool of candidates. You can't go outside of it. And you have this outside firm that qualifies the coaches. So, because every time we hear that phrase, right? We got the best qualified candidate. That's how they get around it.
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't about skin color. It was, we got the
nebulous.
Best. Yes, we got the best qualified candidate. So if you have this coaches portal and you rate the coaches on qualification, and you kind of give them a score, and you say, all right, now we have 20 coaches. Half are black, half are white. And then you watch how the hiring practices come out of that portal over a period of time. That will give us an idea of what's going on. So now you have to pick, at some point, if it's 20 coaches in there, and half are, 10 are black and 10 are white, and you're hiring up my white coaches, we know there's a problem. But that's what, so I'm saying, so we don't have, it's very subjective right now because there's nothing to hope. We don't know what these interviews are like. We have no idea whether they go in there and ask the black coaches the most difficult questions. We don't know what they're doing in those meeting rooms. We don't know if they're going in and they have a preconceived notion about the candidate, or whether they already have, most of the times they already know who they're going to hire before they even interview them. You know that, Sam. They already know.
Yeah.
They already know. I mean, when Brian Dable gets
checking the boxes.
Yeah, so now it's like they bring you in and they ask you stuff that has nothing to do with coaching. And they just kind of just go through the process, look at the clock. All right, 4 hours interview. All right, we just sit there and talk. So I don't know how you fix it. That's my little suggestion. I think you definitely have to have if we don't have the portal, your intake of candidates have to increase, meaning your quality control coaches, your position coaches. You got to have a feeder system of minorities into the NFL so that when these candidates are coming up through the ranks, you have more to choose from, because there's not a lot there. But what's preventing you from coming in as a coach, Sam? You already got your boy already. You already know who's going to be your next OC. You might bring your son in. You might bring your best friends, but your son. I mean, so it becomes the good old boy system within the system.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. And they're not looking outside of anything else but the people they know. So what's going to force you to hire somebody other than the people that you already know?
Yeah.
So it's a problem. NFL knows it's a problem. How you fix it, I don't have any idea.
2017 Hall of Fame inductee. Why does it matter to you? Why is the Hall of Fame?
This gold jacket?
Yeah.
Oh, this not man. Come on, man. Look at this jacket right here, man.
Yeah. What's it mean to you? Why
do you smiling right here, right?
Why do guys care so deeply about that?
Well, when I played, I didn't care about it, to be honest with you. I didn't. I didn't even think about it. I started thinking about it only when people brought it to my attention that I was being considered to be in the Hall of Fame, many years after. But prior to that, I didn't think about it. After you retire, you kind of watch the game, and then you start seeing, but then you start seeing other players going in, and then you start to wonder, like, wait a minute. Like, I mean, I respect the game, but was that guy, did he have a bigger impact on the game than me? You know what I mean? So you start to see that. And so then you slowly but surely start to want what they have. And you try to fight it and say, I don't care about it. I don't care about it. And then of course, you come to the Super Bowl and every interview they're asking you about the Hall of Fame. And the question is, do you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? And first couple of years, I would tell them that, I wouldn't even answer the question. I'm like, I don't know, like, whatever, like, that's up to you guys. But after a while, I started telling myself, if I don't tell them I belong in the Hall of Fame, what the hell? Why would they put me in? Like, why would they put me in if I'm sitting there and I'm not sure about it? So I started changing my tune. And when they asked me, do I belong in the Hall of Fame? The answer was yes. Yeah, I do. And then I would back it up with facts. Okay, do you want me to tell you why? I got my notepad right here. Do you want to go through this? So I started doing that, and then being with the NFL Network, it kept my name on the tongues of the voters because they have so much to worry about. If you're not there and you're not being not relevant, but if you're not outspoken or if they don't see you, they tend to focus on what's in front of them. And so by being on the NFL Network, I started getting calls from these reporters or voters. And they would ask me questions, and I'll go on their talk show. So I started knowing, like, I'll get a call from the network, and they'll say, "Hey, yeah, we have this reporter on the phone." And I say, "Are they a voter?" And they're like, "Yes." I'm like, "All right, get that interview." If they weren't, I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, we'll push that back to next week." But I was getting every interview that they asked me to do that came from a voter, I did. And I wanted to challenge them on the Hall of Fame because I asked them a question. If they said, do you belong in the Hall of Fame? I said, well, you tell me what a Hall of Famer is. Like, you give me the definition. And they go through their list. Well, somebody that played the game for a long time. Well, that's not me. Somebody who impacted the game. Well, that's me. Somebody that had their percentage of the team's success rode on their shoulders. I think that was me. Guys who played big in big games. Well, that was me. So I started challenging them to, like, you tell me what a Hall of Famer is. If a Hall of Famer is you had to play 15 years, I'm not a Hall of Famer. I'm not. But
Neither is Lynn Swann.
Neither Lynn Swann. I mean, yeah, Gail Sayers is not one. Tony Baselli, who just went in, is not one.
I don't think Jim Brown would be one.
Yeah, so it's not about how long you played. If you took my resume, and by the way, I'm not saying me. To me, when I say me, I'm saying us. I'm saying my offense that I play with. It's not just me. It's the guys that I play with. Obviously, I can't do it by myself. But, my offensive line, my wide receivers, guys that I played with, we all were a part of that. But it's a team game. It's not tennis. It's not golf. You can't ask me to do something for 11 guys and then say, well, you didn't do it by yourself. Of course I didn't. I had a bunch of guys helping me do it. So all I'm saying is when I did those things, I played in the biggest moments, the biggest games. I came through in those moments, and I did my part to help our team win championships. And so you can't ask for anything more than that.
Yeah. Quickly, something behind the scenes when you were waiting for that knock at the door, because we see the other side of the door. What was going on inside the room?
I hated it, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. And I think that's where they stopped doing it. It's torture. Because I don't know if you guys know how it works. What they do is they have the top 15 finalists, and they bring you to the site of the Super Bowl. And they make you wait you wait in a hotel room. You bring your family down. You bring all your loved ones, your best friend. My agents came down, and you wait there. And then if you go into the hall that day, they knock on the door and tell you, congratulations, you're in the Hall of Fame. If they don't, they send another guy to your room, knock on the door, and they tell you, sorry, you didn't make it. Exactly.
We don't see that one.
You don't see that one.
Knock. Yeah.
But it's torture, and it's like, are you kidding me? So players have gotten upset over the years because they've flown in town anticipating that they can get into the Hall of Fame. I did it 3 times. Oh. Yeah.
Wow.
And the first time I did it, my wife called me. I'm in the room waiting with my buddies and my brothers. My wife calls me. She said, the Hall of Fame's trying to call you, because she wasn't there at the time. And she said, I think you're going in. You going in, sweetie? I'm like, oh, I said, oh, slow down. She said, yeah, they just called. She said, you call them back. I called back, and instead of getting the congratulations, I got the, sorry, you didn't make it. So got my wife all pumped up that I was making it, didn't make it. And then the other 2 times, there were knocks on the door where I'm thinking it's David Baker, and it's not David Baker. So they changed the process. And so when you say what was it like, it was torture. And then the year I went in, I did feel a little different about that year for some reason. I did. I felt like, okay, the running backs who had to go in, they were already gone. In my mind, I thought that if it was going to be the year, it was going to be the year I went in. But LaDainian Tomlinson was in that same class. And typically, in my opinion, they wouldn't put LaDainian in the same class as me. Mm-hmm. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I was kind of the guy that was kind of a, I say kind of a special case type back. I didn't think they would put two backs in there. So I thought everything was pointing to me going in except LT was coming in. But that year happened. And fortunately, I had my wife, my kids were there, my good friends were there, both of my agents were there. And I had most of the people that were in my circle there in that room when David knocked on the door. And you think you know what it's going to feel like to see that or hear that knock, but it's totally different. I mean, I had a rush of emotions that I never thought I had. I mean, dude, it hits you like a ton of bricks. You're just like, you're so excited, you're relieved. You have closure. It's just all this stuff just running through your body, and you're like, dude, and then it gives you that spinal stamp that the chapter of your career is over finally. Because I didn't have that final chapter. It was constantly open. So to get that confirmation that I was in the Pro Football Hall of Fame was like, it finally happened. And but then you feel validated, man. You feel validated. You feel like, okay, like this is. And the gravity of it, once they tell you that you're out of 300, I think it's probably 370 now, 370 members in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, out of 40,000 men, women who've coached, administered, or played the game. Do the math on that. It puts it in a way where you're like, you got to be kidding me. Yeah. There's only 300-something people wearing this jacket.
Microscopic. You're the grain of sand.
Yeah, man.
On the beach.
Yeah.
You close that chapter. Tell me about your next chapter.
Yeah, I've done some stuff. I've been an entrepreneur for many years, but right now I'm working on this. This is my company called Defy. It's a performance brand. It's really built for every kind of athlete. We have our formulations that's specifically formulated for, give you energy, allow you to perform, and then recover. So we have 3 different products. Actually, we have a pre-workout, which is called the Boost. It's got caffeine in it, but it's a better-for-you product. So it has caffeine in it. It has L-citrulline, taurine. It has immunity blend in there. It has electrolytes. Only 15 calories, no sugar. So we try to make a better-for-you product. And then we have our water, which is our 9.5 pH alkaline water. So I drink that all day. And alkalinity is really good for your body, your system. Help you flush out your organs. Helps you hydrate on a cellular level. It's a phenomenal water, man. So I use that. And then we have a Recover, which is our Cbd Drink. So we have a couple of products that we have. We have tinctures, we have gummies with CBD in them. And for me, CBD really changed my life because in 2017, physically, I was about 25 pounds heavier than I am now, and I wasn't working out. Because every time I would work out, the pain, it just wasn't enjoyable. So I have bone on bone in my right knee. I've had over 30 procedures playing football. I've got constant inflammation all over the place. And so I kind of thought that was it for me, Sam. Like that's the way I'm going to feel for the rest of my life. And after I started taking CBD, man, it became like the game changer, man. The power of CBD was phenomenal. Dropped 25 pounds in about a year and a half. I'm working out every single day. I got more flexibility in my joints than ever before. So I'm a product of the product, as I tell people. And we're nationwide and growing every single day. We're expanding our company, hiring. We're a Black-owned company. We're a minority-owned company. Black-owned, woman-owned, and veteran-owned company. Small business, and we give back every bottle sold from our water. We give back proceeds to 3 organizations that we support. One is called the Center for African American Health, the National Association of Women Business Owners, and Disabled American Veterans. And so we're just trying to raise money, make a difference, man, and compete in a space that's very competitive. But as you see the name over there, Defy, that's our mentality. We're gonna defy the odds, brother.
Yeah. Well, you've defied the odds in your career, and I really appreciate you coming to Hall of Farmer and
Hall of Farmer.
Hall of Farmer.
Dope.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so
Man,
much,
Sam,
TD.
Appreciate it, brother.